Well, welcome to Wentworth for the first day of the 1996 Toyota World Match Play. Lovely castle-type clubhouse that's had £6 million spent on it in the last few years. And Chris Kennedy, the course superintendent here, once again has Wentworth looking splendid. Beautiful afternoon for golf, but, well, last week up at the home of golf, Phil Mickelson, Steve Stricker and Mark O'Meara sauntered round St Andrews in 35 under par. Very impressive winners of the Alfred Dunhill Cup. That was medal match play, and America, although they don't have the Ryder Cup, have that one safely in their grasp. But this is real match play this week. Ernie Els won in 1994. Again, he was successful in 1995. Colin Montgomerie and Steve Elkington, the victims there. And he's looking to win this match play championship for a record third consecutive time. Golf very difficult to predict, more so this week. Straightforward match play. Well, the venue since this championship began way back in 1964 has been Wentworth, and it was the brainchild of property developer Walter George Tarrant. It was designed by Harry Colt just over 70 years ago. Seems like it's been here for an awful lot longer than that. The course was used by forces during the last war and was restored by prisoners in 1945. And these prisoners gave the West Course its name, the Burma Road. The draw for the first round has put the two Steves together, Elkington and Stricker. Little to choose from there. Match 2 and an all-European clash. Colin Montgomerie beat Ian Woosnam to the top of this year's money list. Will Welshman Woosie get his own back today? One of the questions to be answered. Player of the Year elect stateside is Phil Mickelson, and he's playing the Fijian Vijay Singh. And finally, Mark O'Meara, in his 40th year, challenges the pride of the East, Japan's Nobio Serizawa. Last week, the memory was jogged as we returned to Scotland's east coast, the corner of the All Grey Turn and the final resting place of Tom Morris. Over St Andrews Bay, and before us the hallowed links of the Old Course. Now, all great courses have key holes, and during the Alfred Dunhill Cup, the most famous hole in golf once again proved to be the toughest test. 460 yards of danger, out of bounds should you visit the hotel's conservatory, and even from the A1 position off the tee, the road hole bunker stares you in the face, and to a golf ball, it's reminiscent of a magnet.
Same number, a very, very different hole, the 17th at Wentworth, a par 5, 571 yards. It too has an attraction, and it's the outer bounds down the left-hand side in the People's Garden. It's very much a dogleg from right to left. You have to drive to about here, 270 yards from the tee, if you're going to have a chance to reach them too. It takes a high draw shot. This year, the greenkeepers have narrowed up the fairway and the approach to just 12 yards wide, so it's got to be very, very accurate. A very flat-looking green, but extremely difficult to read. That's the draw for the first round, and the people they will meet in the second round. Elkington and Stricker will take on the two-time champion Ernie Els. The winner of Montgomerie and Woosnam will take on the USPGA champion Mark Brooks. Steve Jones will take on the winner of Phil Mickelson and Vijay Singh. Of course, he is the current US Open champion. And our Open champion, Tom Lehman, will take on the winner of O'Meara and Serizawa. One thing we always know at the Toyota World Match Play is always attacking golf.
Well, we've had a look at the 17th hole. This is where we are, just a little southwest of London, half an hour's drive or so from the city, on the borders of Berkshire and Surrey. And having looked at 17, it's not many courses that finish with two par 5s, and this one over the years has changed a little. Course designers have put in a couple of bunkers down the left-hand side there to catch anything that's pulled. Anything too far right off the tee will be blocked out by these trees. Looking into the sun there, a long narrow green that's guarded by 3 bunkers at the front. So that's the 18th, reachable in 2, and no doubt many birdies there. Colin Montgomerie and Ian Woosnam have just finished the 17th in the morning round. They're all square, And back there on the tee with the honour is the European #1 for the 4th consecutive year.
Hole sets up perfectly for Montgomery. It's a nice fade from the tee. And that in the absolutely perfect spot. Montgomery just won the 17th with a birdie. And the little Welshman unfortunately did pay a visit to those gardens down the left-hand side.
Holes can be conceded, of course, in the match play, so you'll see a lot of C's and W's and L's, and W for the win, L for the loss, and C will be that the other player has conceded the hole. We haven't had any of them yet in this match, as Woosnam starts that one down the right-hand side.
Yeah, it just depends. He seems to have a reasonable lie, but he's going to have to hit a long, low cut if he's to find the putting surface from there.
Gorgeous day for golf, deep into October, and yet these lovely blue skies, no wind at all. And huge galleries, as always, on this highly popular championship. Over the years, it's produced some dramatic moments. As we look at Phil Mickelson, and it hasn't been his morning so far. Out in 36, he was 5 down to Vijay Singh after just 7 holes. Blistering start from the Fijian, and he turned in 33. Chance to go back there to just 2 down, but Mickelson 3 down currently to Vijay Singh. Perhaps a little surprise there. The final match has put Mark O'Meara and Nobuo Serizawa together, and their scoring has been, well, fairly ordinary, I guess. O'Meara out in 35 and Serizawa 36. And not too many birdies. Quite a cold start it was, a little misty and a heavy dew. We go out to the 15th. This is Serizawa.
To save his par. Treacherous green. The green's pretty fast this week. Coming up for 10.5 on the stint meter. Very, very true. Of course, they have so few players playing on the green, so very few spike marks.
First match already in. Elkington against Steve Stricker, and they're having a ding-dong battle, but currently after 18 holes Elkington 2 up.
O'Meara this for a par, and this to move to 1 up. O'Meara's had such a terrific season this year. He's well up on all the playing statistics, and he's going to be a tough man to beat on this golf course.
Yes, he's been a tough man to beat all season since they won that Mercedes Championship. And there you are, a red setter mixed with a Labrador. And if you're to join some of the clubs around here, like Sunningdale and Swinley Forest, then it's mandatory that you have one of them, otherwise you won't be allowed in. We're in that sort of neck of the woods as we go back into the neck of the woods at the 17th.
This hole would slightly help Phil Mickelson, and being a left-hander, he can cut the ball and hold it onto that fairway. You can just see sloping a little bit from left to right. If he gets a decent lie down, it just about brings the green into play. 571 yards. Seeing another long hitter.
To the 18th, the second of Woosnam. Trying to slide this from left to right. Difficult out of the wet grass sand with a metal-headed club. And Woosnam making a good job of that. Just at the throat of the green, clear of the bunker. And every chance he could get up and down in 2 and make a 4 there. It's been a cracking match to watch this one. Again, scores not really fantastic. We've had some great scores over the years here. A couple of 29s on the way out. That's the record for 9 holes. And no doubt as we progress towards the end of the week, should the weather stay like this, we'll be looking at a 63 or a 64.
2-iron for Montgomery, second to the 18th. A little unfortunate that landing so softly, because any sort of bounce on it would gather up to the flag.
.35 out Montgomery, no fives so far on the way back. Back-to-back threes at 13 and 14, that's birdie and a par respectively. So Montgomery looking for a 4 for a round of 68. Woosnam a 4 for 69 as we go back to the 16th tee. 3 wood for O'Meara. Purely preference this 16th, Ken. We see a lot of 2 irons, 3 wood. Some prefer to use the driver.
Just depends how you would like to relate, and that's a perfect tee shot to that bunker that just comes into vision there. It's 225 yards to reach it and 245 to clear it. And Sirazawa's got the driver out, so he's trying to take that bunker out of play. If you take an iron from the tee, Chris Kennedy's narrowed this fairway up to just 12 yards wide as well.
There's that a touch left. Not very pretty. A look from the elbow of the dog leg at the 18th towards the green and beyond the hospitality units to the left as well. Lovely tented village here. There's a great tournament feel about it, this, and I think that can only be produced after the event has been going for some time, and way back in 1964 we had the first one, and in general some of the best crowds of the season.
Yes, it's always beautiful to be out at Wentworth at this time of the year. Large crowds following some of the greatest golfers in the world at the moment. The top 5 money winners off the US list and European number 1 and 2, so they don't come much better than that.
Woosnam to play first at the 18th, and well, he'll be getting a visual image together of a chip and run that the ball will break a little from his right.
Bank just in front of him to go over. Not badly played. He's left himself a slightly uphill putt, a little bit from the right. Always slightly favoured by the players. Woosnam's long-time caddy. Wobbly. You mentioned the scoring is not particularly low. There's some very, very tough pin positions out there this morning. Mike Stewart has been out there with Ronan Rafferty, the sort of guest pin setter this week, and he's decided to tuck 1 or 2 of them in some rather unusual places. Well, there you are. You see, Ken, as soon as you get another job in the commentary book, someone slips into your old job there. I know you placed them at St Andrews last week, and I was very impressed with the flag position you put at the 8th, the first short hole. All the years I've played St Andrews, I've never seen it there. Yes, the European Tour decided to get 1 or 2 of ex-players to help them set up the course, as they've been criticised 1 or 2 times this year. So it's Ronan Rafferty this week. Beautiful shot from Montgomery. First played in this championship back in 1991 when he beat Mark Calcavecchi as 7 and 6 in the first round, only to lose to Nick Faldo at the 38th in round 2. Second to 17. Singh with the driver out the semi. That's the area they've grown the rough in a little bit. In years gone by, that would have trundled very nearly onto the front of the green. Evidence there of one of the tough pin positions on the front left-hand corner. That will go to Phil Mickelson. Remember, a nice tee shot. Fade for Phil, of course, off the 17th, which is a little easier than
drawing one into the slope. And Mickelson also with the driver.
A slightly easier shot there. You can see where that pin is front left. So if you miss it down the right, it leaves you a slightly easier pitch. Mickelson last week had a few 3 putts. But he's found his touch on the greens yet.
Yes, most unlike him. That's the second to the 16th of Nobio Serizawa. Drawing it just a fraction too much. Easy to do with a lofted club. He's found the semi-rough, but a straightforward pitch from there. We were talking about the road hole bunker earlier, Ken. That bunker at 16 exactly the same, just like a magnet.
Yes, the ball seems to finish it time and time again. One advantage with that, unless you get really up against the face, you can usually get somewhere near the putting surface. The second shot of O'Meara, pitching wedge. And you can see there another pin just 3 yards from the right edge of the green. 16 paces on. O'Meara sets himself up with an obvious birdie chance.
18th, and Woosnam, one would have to think, to go into lunch all square. So difficult. Half an inch left and that ball would have turned a couple of inches. It had to be struck so firmly, that one. And Montgomery, after that delightful little chip shot, has a chance of a birdie, and that would give him the advantage going into the afternoon round.
Woosnam obviously very disappointed to finish 17-18 at 6-5. So left the door slightly open for Montgomery here.
Putt that should move a little from Collins' left, but certainly not outside the hole. He doesn't want to give the hole away. Beautifully done. A drive, a 2-iron, a very classy little chip. And that 4 sees Montgomery in the clubhouse at the halfway stage in the first round. 1 up on Ian Woosnam.
Match will resume at 12:45.
Montgomery ran in approximate 68 to Ian Woosnam's 70.
To the par 5 17th and the third of Phil Mickelson. Well, we've talked over the years kind of Trevino and the likes with a short game, but this man, I'm not sure he's got an equal.
Such a wide variety of shots, and seems to be a lot of spin on all his short irons and little pitches. Singer's played his third, so he has this for a birdie 4.
Mickelson wins the hole in 4. Singh is 2 up.
Well, a good 4 from Phil Mickelson after 2 driver shots. A little unfortunate for Singh. His second shot was on line, but as Ken was explaining earlier there, that the rough just grown out a fraction into the middle of the fairway, and with the slope coming from the left, nearly impossible to try and find this green in 2 unless you can shape the second shot.
Notice VJ's gone back to the short putter this week. I think he used it in Las Vegas last, so he's got rid of the long wand.
Look from the elbow of the dog leg of 17 there, and what that doesn't show you is just how much the slope goes from left to right, and you're playing your second shot with the ball also below your feet.
O'Meara for
O'Meara wins the hole. O'Meara is 2 up.
with a par 4 there to go to 2 up. Sirazawa not managing to get down in 2.
Yes, heavy penalty for a drive that was only 4 or 5 yards offline. And the sort of player you don't want to give a 2 or 3 hole lead. He's capable of finding every fairway and every green in regulation, and to chip away at that lead you've got to make a barrage of birdies. 17th tee once again. Unhurried golf swing. He seems to have all the time in the world to release the club. But he's overcooked that one a fraction. Down the right side, won't be in the trees, but his vision for the second shot may be impaired.
10 or 12 years ago, it was a little bit more open down there. They planted some silver birches, so anything leaking more than 7 or 8 yards right of the fairway tends to get gathered up amongst them. Setting up for the high draw. Not quite getting enough of it, and just trundling into the second cut of rough. Some of that 4.5 inches long, can be a bit deep and tangly, but there are patches where the ball tends to sit up.
18th once again. Swinging a lot harder than perhaps in past years, Phil Mickelson. Confident now that he's fully recovered from that skiing accident he had a couple of seasons ago that certainly did some damage as far as his golf swing was concerned. But he sent that one at the 18th right down the middle of the fairway.
The ideal line is on the tallest tree in the far horizon with just a little bit of a fade.
Many famous celebrities, of course, live around this Wentworth estate, and Singh finding that second bunker. Russ Abbott, the comedian, Trevor Francis, the football manager, now soccer manager of Birmingham City Football Club, played for them, of course, as a player. And Bruce Forsyth, I'm sure, over the years, all over the world, a name that everybody is synonymous with.
Of course, a number of golfers. Sam Torrance has got a house here, and the Ryder Cup captain Bernard Gallagher has lived here for a number of years, and he's, of course, the pro here, Ewan.
Yes, after Tom Halliburton way back in 1975, who served this club so well, and Bernard has done so since. A real credit to his profession. Topped the Order of Merit in Europe back in 1969 when he was attached to Ifield. And now in semi-retirement, but approaching the age of 47, Gallagher maybe with one eye in the Seniors Tour in 2.5 years' time.
And talking of seniors, it won't be long before Jumbo Ozaki will be reaching the age of 50. He's 49 now.
Very difficult choice for Jumbo too, because he's won over 122 million yen in Japan this year, and well, he's still winning tournaments regularly over there. So does he stay there, or does he go to the Seniors Tour? Maybe he'll play a little of both.
Tony Greer, the man who runs the Sonny World Rankings, said to me the other week if he'd won the Japanese Open, he'd have gone to number 2 in the world. And amazingly, over the last 2 seasons, he's won 16 tournaments. So a real force in Japanese golf. To another one, Sirazawa.
Temperatures around 64 degrees at present as we move into the afternoon. And a decent lie for Sirazawa. Right, with the graphite shafted metal 3. Good golf swing too. Lovely arm speed he has on the way through. Leaked that a fraction right. That's going to catch the second cut of rough, but at least he's on the right side. If he can get a lie from there, he'll be able to bring the ball to a stop. Pearly gates on the visor. I wonder what that is.
O'Meara deciding out of range this 17th, so trying to leave himself a full sand wedge or pitching wedge, and ideally he would like it off the fairway to get a bit of spin to this pin. It's just cut 6 yards on and 4 from the left-hand side.
Yes, you can tell Ronan Rafferty's not playing today. They're heading away a little bit. But that's all right. They have an awful lot of talent, these players, and they won't find too much difficulty hunting these flags out. Now to the 18th, and a little unfortunate for Vijay Singh, but two very well placed bunkers they are, because what it does is it makes the player fade the ball off the tee, and at 502 yards the par 5 is reachable, and by fading it, of course, they're going to lose a little bit of yardage there. Too far back in the bunker, I think, to make any attempt at the green, and I think here in the back of his mind trying to get over the ditch.
Yeah, 100 yards to clear that and 120 to find the flat bit on the top of the hill. Those bunkers were added back in 1993. Prior to that, it was just rough over there, and occasionally you could get away with a tee shot that was not very, very good. You could hook one and still get a chance of reaching the green.
First US PGA Tour success in a playoff against Mark Wiebe, and Vijay Singh has become a regular winner over there since he departed our shores. Now, lovely drive from Mickelson. 2 iron to go. That's the most wonderful full backswing, Mickelson. Great shoulder turn. And look at that, he's thrown it all the way into the heart of this 18th green. Spectacular shot. And Mickelson, coming off a birdie at the last, has an eagle putt there at 18 to try and reduce that deficit. 2 down at present.
Some beautiful houses around this Wentworth Golf Club. I believe that white one there one time used to belong to the Bee Gees. I'm not certain of that, but it's frightfully posh.
Fair bit of night fever over the years in there, and what a wonderful pup group they were. Now back to the golf. And Mark O'Meara.
I'll be right.
A really classy shot. The green's pretty receptive, so despite coming out the rough, managed to get a stop fairly quickly. You can do, I can do better. Coming from that right-hand side, a little bit better angle to get at the flag. The Japanese PGA match play this year, and it's his second appearance here at Wentworth.
18th and Singh. Good escape from that bunker. Nice clean hit. A gorgeous approach shot, beautifully controlled from the Fijian. Rather like a good wine Singh. He's got better and better with age. Good temperament for the job, practices hard, deserves all his success. And a warm applause for Phil Mickelson after that sparkling 2 iron. And if he could knock that in and make a 3, then he'd go into lunch 1 down, and Ken, mentally a real result after being 5 down after 7.
Yes, particularly on this golf course. You think Vijay on the back 9 holes with the par 5s, 12, 17 and 18, that you've really got your back to the wall, but Mickelson has done a remarkable job. O'Meara having a very good look at this putt. This 17th green, it's got very few breaks in it, but the ones that are very, very subtle. And this should break slightly from left to right, just inside left. One of Gary Player's absolutely dead centre and pretty quick, so he's got his 4.
It's been the hallmark, I think, of his good play this year. O'Meara's holing out from inside 10 feet has been quite exceptional. And of course that gives you so much confidence with your Arden shots and your approaches. And even when you're 35, 40 feet away, you haven't got that niggling worry in the back of your mind that you're going to leave yourself with one of them.
Match remains O'Meara 2-up.
Half in 4, and they move on to the 18th. O'Meara with a 1-shot, a 2-up lead.
Up ahead to the 18th green, Mickelson for a 3, and this to lunch 1 down. Up the hill, virtually dead straight, beautifully struck. What a fabulous 3, and what a comeback. Superb performance from Mickelson, having turned in 36 approximately, 3 down. He's fought his way back, no 5s on the back 9, and Mickelson home in 32. Well, we have a look at this majestic clubhouse, and while we do that, we'll have a check on the halfway situation in the first round. And Steve Elkington there, 2 up on Steve Stricker as they move into the second 18 holes of the first day. Should be a good afternoon match to watch that. Colin Montgomery with that lovely 4 at the 18th, 1 up on Ian Woosnam, a 68 approximately from Montgomery today, so continuing that excellent form. Match 3, Mickelson and Singh, we've just seen have a grandstand finish there for the American, and from 5 down and 3 down after 9 holes, Mickelson lunches 1 down to Vijay Singh. Last match, Mark O'Meara and Nobio Serizawa, and O'Meara continuing that lovely run he had into the back 9, and after 18 holes he enjoys a 2-hole advantage. Well, we're about to join the live action out there on the golf course, and we can take a look at the current situation. Of course, Steve Elkington and Steve Stricker off first in the afternoon at around 12:30. They began the day at 8:15 on the first tee. Colin Montgomery 15 minutes after that alongside Ian Woosnam. And after 13 holes of the afternoon match, there's been a dramatic turnaround in that top match. Steve Stricker now 2 up on the other Steve, the former US PGA champion Elkington. Colin Montgomery 3 up on Ian Woosnam, who is suffering with back pains and may have to have an operation before the season's out. Phil Mickelson, well, he didn't get back to hit Vijay Singh because after 10 Singh is 2 up, and in that final match, which has just reached the ton, Mark O'Meara is 4 up on Nobio Serizawa. Colin Montgomery winning the 3rd, also winning the 6th. And we'll go to Steve Stricker, this in the top match, the par 3 14th. Pin set in the back quarter today. Oh, and another stunning putt from the American. Oh, what a year it's been for him. He won the Kemper Open, and then one of the oldest tournaments on the US PGA Tour, the Western Open, and well, what that's done for his confidence is quite extraordinary. To the 13th.
Using his customary draw, a little bit disappointed. He's a little uphill, he won't be able to see where that's finished, but he's absolutely stick high. Alistair McLean, who's been with Colin Montgomery for the past 6 years or so. Now this isn't the ideal angle, you've got to get this up very quickly over those big pines. rough, not able to really control the ball. The pin on that front right-hand quarter. 7 on and 4 from the right.
To Phil Mickelson in the third match against Vijay Singh. He's 2 down at present. Coaxing one down the hill at 11 and into the back of the hole. And Mickelson's not finished with this match yet. Back to 1 up as they move to the 12th hole, the par 5 here. Certainly within reach and 2 for these players. Nothing much more today than a drive and a 4-iron. But we'll go to the 15th.
Very, very demanding tee shot, particularly if the wind's in your face. Out of bounds both left and right. And it doglegs slightly to the right, so if you drive down the right-hand side, it's a very difficult angle to get the ball round the corner of the dogleg. Plus the pin is cut to the right today. For Elkington. There's a trap down the left. He just manages to clear that.
Leaf still on the trees despite moving towards November. And this is the view the player has of his tee shot at the 12th. Mickelson already driven, Singh starting that down the left, trying to cut it back. And he's all but done that. Ball seems to be lying okay, but he'll have to move the ball a little from right to left for the second. Fairways much narrower than they've been in past years. Rather like the 17th, fairway grown in on both sides. As we take a look at this 13th green, and well, one of the greens with the biggest changes in elevation, and so important that you try and keep your second on the front side of the hole.
Both of these players will be putting across the slope, and Montgomery slightly down the hill as well. And the green's in beautiful condition, and for this time of year, very, very fast as well. Pretty quick, this one. Well, if it's a friendly game, I think Ian Woosnam might well concede that one. And it must be very friendly. Just inside the leather.
Wouldn't fancy playing you in match play. A little earlier, that's the tee shot of Mickelson. Remember Singh in the left-hand rough. And Mickelson down the other side. Now that's where the spectators have trampled down the grass, and as long as he has a swing from there, it's not uninhabited by the trees, then he should be okay. But certainly driving down the right of 12 makes that second shot a lot longer. Good second from Woosnam there.
Yes, absolutely stick high. Of course, twice a winner of this tournament, 87 and 1990. This to pull the deficit back to 2. Woosnam uses one of these old ping answer putters. Bit of lead on the bottom of it, plus a graphite shaft, because he has it pretty short, just 32 inches long, but helps to give it a bit of head feel. Now this a vital one for Woosnam if he's going to stay in this match.
have to think that's the end of that match. Montgomery now moving to 4 up. Great difficulty of match play. You start to run out of holes, you're 3 down, and well, you saw Woosnam have a crack at the first putt there and left himself just a little too much to do.
Stricker's already played on. This is Elkington's second, the heart of the green. PGA champion last year, of course, beat Colin Montgomery in the playoff, the lovely Riviera.
12th hole now, and Mickelson after that slightly wayward tee shot. Nice clean contact from Mickelson. Threading that one through the gap, has he? Yes, he has, and he's found the putting surface. Lovely shot from Mickelson. This was the second of Steve Stricker at the 15th. And a confirmation of how he managed to get that ball on the green. So both players safely on there as we drift back to the 14th.
The uphill par 3, always difficult to pick the right club. A 5-iron, a pin cut 20 centre right at the back of the green, just 6 paces up the little tier. And in years gone by you could pitch it on this bank behind the flag and the ball would run down.
Yes, they've got wise to that. They've now put some semi-rough there, and it's that semi-rough that Montgomery has found, but at least he's on the correct level. Pop-up sprinkler not too far away there. And at 4 up, Montgomery cruising. .184 yards. Not making the contact they would like. He's just climbed up the tier. Manages to hold, but Woosnam struggling with his back and also struggling against Colin Montgomery today. To Vijay Singh. And he's come up just a fraction shy. And that's the way things stand. Stricker 3 up and 4 to play on Steve Elkington. Ian Woosnam, well, I'm afraid it looks a lost cause for him. 4 down to Colin Montgomery, just 5 holes left to play there. And Vijay Singh 1 up. And in the last match, Mark O'Meara having an easy time of it, 5 up on Japan's Nobuo Serizawa. Seeds come in on the second day, and they ask the defending champion. Looks like he's going to play Steve Stricker. Montgomery will be up against the US PGA champion Mark Brooks, who of course won at Valhalla in Kentucky. But a comfortable day for Mark.
Yes, he wasn't cruising early on, but he's certainly starting to cruise now. What a swing from right to left and very fast. But he's just beating it. O'Meara, who's ranked number 2 on the US putting stats this year. 1.73 averages on every green he hits in regulation, so that's always a great advantage. He also leads greens in regulation, so that's a pretty good combination.
Serizawa to stay 5 down and 7 to play.
Right in the heart of the hole. So Serizawa has got to find some birdies. Pars are definitely not going to be good enough.
No, and 3 par 5s in the last 7 holes here at Wentworth. The 15th isn't one of them. And this is Elkington for a 3. Oh. Well, that's the sort of thing that happens when you're 2 or 3 down. 3 down Elkington is, and well, coming up just an 9 short there.
chip, I think, from Colin, just far enough off the fringe, and it's just long enough. Ball sitting up nicely. There's some sort of a chip and run. A little bit of mud on the ball he picked up as it pitched on the green.
Colin's home not too far away from here in Windlesham, a little village to the west of Wentworth. So not too far to have to go home from the office today. And should he knock this one in, it could be curtains for Ian Woosnam. Plays these beautifully, stays over the ball so nicely. Well, maybe a glimmer of hope for Woosnam, and that's how quickly things change in match play.
Yes, it's nip and tuck all the way. Woosnam had to have a go for his birdie at the last and 3 putted. Now Monty felt obliged to have a go for his. So Woosnam has a chance to get a hole back. And so does Stricker. This from the right, this at 15. And that would have taken him to 4 up. And of course, there's only 3 holes to play. That would have won him today's match. So Dormy 3 up for Steve Stricker.
Woosnam at 14. Beautifully struck, never really looked anywhere but the hole, and rather like the last, didn't get enough of it, and maybe the pace beat it, but great effort from Woosnam. But all is not lost. Montgomery with a putt to go Dormy.
Just a little bit from right to left, but firm and straight would do it. Well, I never. A little bit more spring in Woosnam's step.
I'll look at the scores at the moment. Stricker with 3 to play, 3 up. Montgomery 3 up and 4 to play, and Woosnam maybe a little annoyed that he gave away that 13th. But Colin Montgomery, for the 4th year in succession, is going to top the Volvo ranking and could make history if he wins this championship, because that would take him close to 900,000. And with the bonus pool at the Volvo Masters, Montgomery would be the first player to go through the £1 million barrier. That's around $1.5 million US. Ian Woosnam second in that list. And well, bad news, Ken, the other week for Robert Allenby, a car crash there, but rumour has it he's coming back to play in the Volvo Masters, if not just to secure a place in the US Masters next April.
Yes, plus he has to play at the Volvo Masters to get his bonus, so there's rumours that he's just going to go off the first tee and give it a nudge and then go home, but we shall see. Maybe they'll come up with a sensible rule for that one.
Well, we look further down the list, Ken, and a few youngsters have made their mark this year. Lee Westwood there, Andrew Coulthard, although still searching for his first victory. Darren Clark had one in Germany a couple of weeks ago. And Thomas Bjorn, probably a new name to many golf viewers around the world, in there in 10th position, and already a winner, of course, up there at Loch Lomond.
And he looks at present as if he's going to be the Rookie of the Year, but there's a couple of other players playing very well. Of course, Raymond Russell has also got a chance to get amongst them.
Corey Harrington, another just outside the top 10. So a choice between 3 players for the Rookie of the Year, but no doubt who's going to lead that Volvo ranking. It is Colin Montgomery. Well, this is a championship that's rich in history, and some of that is described for us now by the inimitable Peter Allis.
Back in 1964, Arnold Palmer, then the world's most charismatic and thrilling of golfers, had defeated Englishman Neil Coles 2-1 in the final to become the first world match play champion. Palmer's victory was fitting, being golf's accepted superstar, and his presence ensured the championship's prestige and importance. The event was typical of the 60s, confident, dynamic, and successful, and it helped usher in a new style in golf. Red carpet treatment all the way, suites at the Savoy, limousines for the players. This was special. Those early years were dominated by Palmer and Gary Player. In 1965, Player reached the final after an amazing escape against Tony Lima. 7 down at one stage, he clawed his way back to win at the first extra hole. His opponent in the final was Peter Thomson, who had this putt to keep the match alive. It wasn't to be, and Player picked up the first of his victories, a 3-2 winner against Thomson. In 1966, Player was in the final again and beat Jack Nicklaus surprisingly easily by 6 and 4. 1967 saw Palmer back in the finals. This is his fairway shot at the 13th.
Oh, yes, a magnificent shot from Palmer. One of many on the day. Palmer's golf was breathtaking, but he was matched all the way by the steady play of Peter Thomson. Less spectacular, but nevertheless brilliant. Here at the 17th, Palmer had this putt for victory. And just wiggles out on the right side, so close. But Palmer, 1 up, 1 to play, not over yet.
But Palmer's victory wasn't long in coming, as moments later, on the 18th, Thomson's courageous struggle came to an end as he conceded defeat.
And so victory for the 2nd time goes to Arnold Palmer. A memorable victory because the golf was of a very high quality from both players.
Memorable, but sad, as it proved to be his last. But he had shown himself to be one of the world's finest match-play golfers. 68 was Gary Player's 3rd success. Here he is, pitching up to the 18th in his final against Bob Charles.
Player 1 up and 1 to play. A funny little stabbing chip running up this final green. Well, he'd like to have got it a bit closer, but this trusty old putter, will it work yet again? Just right of centre it must be, and he didn't hit it hard enough, and that's very uncharacteristic, a very uncharacteristic shot from Player. Now Bob Charles. One of the greatest of putters needs this for a birdie 4 to stay alive. And he's overdone it.
So, Gary Player wins once again, beating Bob Charles 1 up.
Beautifully narrated, and the action there described by Peter Ellis, who's been in the commentary box for the British Broadcasting Corporation television for the best part of nearly 3 decades. So some great history in the early days, but of course that was to continue. It started with the Piccadilly World Match Play, and it's progressed beautifully since that great event began in '64.
In 1969, Charles did win, becoming the first to break the Player-Palmer stranglehold upon the championship. After 6 years, the championship had become established. Entering the 70s, it had become a social as well as a golfing event. The match play had captured the hearts and imagination of the golfing public, and thousands flocked each year to see the golfing giants do battle. Charles's victory had reflected the inevitable passing of time and changing of eras. Older, established names were fading, monochrome stars replaced by colourful newcomers. Player still remained a reminder of an earlier age. But the new names who were preparing to dominate the 70s were just as eager, just as competitive, and above all, just as determined to win. And the 2 finalists in 1970 exemplified that to the full. Lee Trevino, one of the greatest golfers of the day, and Jack Nicklaus, perhaps the greatest golfer ever. The final was tremendous, an all-time classic that has entered into match play legend. Trevino, behind almost all day in the face of Nicklaus's blistering golf, refused to lie down and die. Playing some superb golf, he clawed his way back from 5 down with 9 to play to 1 down with 4 holes left. But Nicholas, his nerve holding, hammered back. And when they reached the 35th, Trevino had to sink this long putt to have any sort of chance.
Well, he's given it a good run at the hole, and not a million miles away, but that's that. And I must say, that's one of the finest games it's been my privilege to watch. Super stuff.
Fine indeed. And Jack was back in the final next year, but in a replay of '66, he was comfortably beaten by the man in black, Gary Player, his fourth success. 1972 saw the crowd's patriotic hopes take an upturn when two of Britain's representatives appeared in the semi-finals. Expectation ran high. Peter Oosterhuis struggled bravely, but found those expectations too much to bear and never really got into his match. But for Tony Jacklin, Britain's other performer, fate was cruel. The result, a tragedy. Despite a staggering 9 under par 63 in the afternoon round, he almost unbelievably lost at the 36th hole, a heart-rending defeat. His conqueror? The master magician himself, Lee Trevino, who magnificently maintained his poise in the face of Jacklin's explosive charge and scored 2 67s, a memorable 10 under par for the day. It was heady, brilliant golf. But not surprisingly, Trevino suffered a reaction and couldn't reproduce such genius the next day in the final. And it was Oosterhuis's victor, the tall American Tom Weiskopf, who took the title. Playing steady, solid golf, he was a comfortable winner by 4 and 3. In 1973, the final was a tense struggle between the Australian Graham Marsh and Gary Player, who, making his 5th final appearance, faced imminent defeat.
So this putt for the match. Must keep it to the right. No, always too low. No amount of body English will squeeze that one in. So that's as close as you can get without being the champion, I suppose. Gary Player with, well, a putt of no more than 4.5 feet for a birdie 4 to take the match into extra holes. Oh, he's on the move. He thinks it's short. Well, who says there isn't a bit of good fortune in golf?
So off they went back into the country. Player finally winning at the 40th, the longest final on record.
Well, some wonderful history since the championship began just 32 years ago. And over the next 3 days, we'll take a look at some more. It's always nice to look back and see the caddies there. Willie Hilton for Tony Jacklin, and well, Lee Trevino turned him over on more than one occasion, didn't he? Well, this is the current state of affairs in 1996. Steve Stricker has just won his match against Steve Elkington by the tune of 3 and 2. Colin Montgomery still playing. They're on their way down the 15th. Montgomery 3 up and 4 to play, having taken 4 at the short 14th. And Phil Mickelson fighting his way back against Vijay Singh, who's been ahead since early this morning. Singh currently 1 up through 12. And in the final match, Marco Mera has just won the 12th to go to 6 up on Nobio Sarazawa. So we know the result of one match, Stricker going through to the second round, and he'll face the defending champion Ernie Els tomorrow morning. Of course, 36 holes also the second round, and Colin Montgomery and Ian Woosnam now through the 15th. That hole's been halved, and Montgomery is Dormy 3 up on Ian Woosnam. So that's the current state of play. We'll go out to the 16th. That's the par 4 15th. Montgomery finding the back left quarter in 2 shots. And a couple of putts there, rolling that one up near enough stone dead, so a conceded 4 there for Colin Montgomery. And no doubt Woosnam can in the back of his mind there, furious with himself at what happened at 13 after 2 glorious shots.
Absolutely, yeah. Very much a birdie opportunity here for Woosnam as well. Going to afford to be aggressive up the hill and from the right. Was conceded, so Montgomery 3 up with 3 to play.
They've now made their way to the 16th tee, and Montgomery with the driver, trying to set this down the right centre. And we talked about the fairways being narrowed, Ken. I can't remember over the years the 16th being that narrow at 240 yards.
Yes, it's just some 12 yards wide. I think they've going to say if you're going to play a safe iron from the tee, it's got to be an accurate one. So it's trying to put the player in 2 minds and really make them hit a driver. Lovely sound off the club face, the second of a mirror to the 13th. Perfect angle. Almost perfect shot.
Fourteenth and BJ Singh 5 on. Won the 13th hole with a par 4, so disappointment there for Mickelson after getting back-to-back birdies at the 11th and 12th. So Singh now 2 up and 5 to play. Each of these matches have referees. You saw the second match, David Probyn wandering his way down the 16th fairway. That's the third match. Ian Burns, the referee. Bill Hodge is the observer, and Bill's been with the PGA European Tour for a long time now. He's the statistician. Charming old gentleman he is too. Beautifully run this event. But Mickelson here with his back to the wall. 2 down.
Crackerjack there from Phil Mickelson. Shortened his swing up during the winter months, reducing his hip turn a fraction. Has gained a lot more control, particularly with his middle and short irons.
Some of the trees not yet turned their autumn colours, but 1 or 2 beginning to go that way. Well, in a couple of weeks' time there'll be a lovely blend of orange and yellow, and the green maintained by the Scots pines throughout the winter. Lovely par 4 this 13th. Nobuo Sarazawa 6 down and 6 to play, and just off the front edge, and if he's to keep this match going, one would suspect he has to chip this in.
Pretty good effort, so whatever happens, Mark O'Meara is going to have 2 putts from some 12 feet.
16th in the drive of Woosnam finding sand. 8 iron second. I'm not altogether sure the photographer should be in the line of play. And Woosnam catching the sand before the ball there and coming up some 10 yards short. So a good chance for Montgomery to end the match. And it looks like a 4 will be good enough.
Very awkward spot in the bunker, standing a long way above the ball. Very easy for the heel of the club to catch the sand first. That is the view Colin Montgomery's got. Quite a lot of green over the bunker there, but coming out the rough.
And I think that shows the confidence of Montgomery. No one would have blamed him for firing that 25 feet left of the hole. At no wind today, and totally confident he could not only carry the bunker but get the distance right, and that looks to be that.
Yes, and if Woosnam can produce an absolute miracle and Montgomery have a major turn around in the wrong direction, this match is once again going to go to Montgomery. He's always seemed to have the edge over Woosnam all season. Both have had a terrific year. Woosnam's won 4 tournaments, and Montgomery 3.
Woosnam started his Toyota World Match Play career back in 1985. And he beat Joey Sindelar in the first round, only to lose to Ballesteros the following day. Now from the front of the 13th, Marco Mera, and that effectively is that. Well, disappointment for the Japanese viewers. Nobuo Sarazawa carrying their hopes in this championship, but no match for the brilliance of Marco Mera. 7-5 victor, and finishing everything off beautifully with a 3 there at the 13th.
Woosnam popped this one in the hole. Well, the answer is no, so I think that will be that.
I don't even think he's going to ask Montgomery to putt. In fact, he's asked him to pick the balls up. And in the European confrontation in the first round, Montgomery is the victor. And I suppose the records will say 4-2. But whatever's happened, it's finished on the 34th green. So 3 matches now finished. Elkington defeated by Steve Stricker. Stricker through to face Ernie Els tomorrow. And then Colin Montgomery successful in his match against Ian Woosnam. 3-2 the score there. He's through to the second round, as is Marco Mera after a thumping 7-5 victory over Nobuo Sarazawa. Just 1 match going out on the course. It is a very tight one. Mickelson against Singh, and out at the 14th, Mickelson is 2 down. Great test of the player's stamina over the 4 days here. The winner will have played 8 rounds of golf perhaps, but if you're a seed, only 6 rounds of golf is required. And nothing like a 7-5 victory to get the feet up, and well, it's just past the hour of 3 o'clock here in England, so an early afternoon there for Marco Mera. Mickelson's tee shot at 14 proving too hot to handle for Vijay Singh. So that match now on the 15th tee, and one gets the impression it's going to go all the way to the 36th and maybe even beyond. Sudden death if they're tied after 2 rounds. And Mickelson no quitter. He's with the honour, and this is his tee shot at the 15th.
That's one spot you don't want to go. May just have come out of the bunker. Either way, it's in a very awkward position. Asking his caddy Bones whether it's over the sand. Shoulders pointing a long way left, feet down the fairway, high cut. And that's an absolutely perfect spot.
We've already seen that flag on the 15th, cut 23 on, 6 in from the right. And a great performance from Steve Stricker, 2 down to Steve Elkington after 18 holes, but through to face Ernie Els. Montgomery will face Mark Brooks, multi-winner on the US PGA Tour this year, Mark Brooks, and of course joined the major club back in August. Steve Jones, well, he doesn't know who he's going to play. He's in the 3rd match tomorrow. It will either be Vijay Singh or Phil Mickelson, but Tom Lehman knows his opponent. It's an all-American confrontation in the last match of the 2nd round, O'Meara against Lehman, and that should be pretty good to watch. The aggressive play of Tom Lehman and the consistent performance, it seems, all the time from Marco Mera. Any real surprises?
I think Marco Mera sort of a crushing defeat over Sarazawa, a good steady player, but you always felt he would come out on top. Montgomery Woozy not 100% fit, a real shame, because when he's in full flight he's a terrific battler. Montgomery always having the edge there, and Steve Stricker and Steve Elkington, well, you'd say Stricker probably on this season's performance slightly better of the two. He's won twice in the US, and Elkington is yet to win. So no real surprises. All of them will be keen to get back to their houses. The players get rented houses here, the lovely limousines with chauffeurs and maids to make them dinners in the evening. So a nice early finish will give them a relax for tomorrow, because 36 holes a day eventually does sometimes tell the story.
So it could be an early afternoon here at Wentworth, expecting play to go all the way through to around 5:10. With one match out in the course, the only way that will happen is if it goes to sudden death. But we've been taking a look at the history of the Toyota World Match Play. We can now pick it up from the year of 1966.
Every player, one down, 6 to play. In a moment you'll see the ball come out against the background of trees. There it goes, going up the left-hand side of the green. Could come off the bank. That could end up very nicely for player. Yes, used the slopes beautifully. Down she comes to within, 12 feet or so of the hole. Great shot. Now it's Ewen's turn. One up. First visit here. What a neat, competent player he is. Lovely, simple swing. Second shot from the perfect position, dead center of the fairway. Sailing up and down and coming in nicely. And you can see just a little bit further away than play. Ewen to putt first for a birdie 3. Oh, nearly, very nearly. The player has a chance to square the match. Ewen's putt was conceded, and player hold this. Just left of centre is the line. Well, he certainly hit it hard enough. My word, he's gone by. Well, there's an interesting thing here, because the referee announced the hole halved in 4. Ewen did not, or had not, conceded. Player steps up to hold this for a half. And, a nervy, twitchy one, and that really was a turn-up for the book for Hale Irwin. Player 2 down with 5 to play. And that'll test even players' great powers of recovery.
And so it proves. And by the 17th, player needs this putt to stay alive.
No, just wanders offline. Player concedes, and he loses. But well done, Hale Irwin.
Well done indeed. And when Ewen wins again in 1975, he's the first successful defendant since player himself in 1966.
Well, the players who won from 66, Palmer and Player again in 68, Charles in 69, Nicholas, Player, and of course Weiskopf we saw a little earlier. Hale Irwin back-to-back winner in 74, 75, and a young man trying to win this championship for the first time in 3 consecutive years is Ernie Els, and he'll be out there battling tomorrow against the talents of Steve Stricker. Now we saw the tee shot of Mickelson at 15 just escape through the bunker. Awkward lie he had there, downhill, didn't manage to get the ball to reach the top of its flight, and he's come up just a little short of the green. And vital he should at least save this hole. 1 down and 3 to play, with a couple of them par 5s isn't too much of a disaster.
A great match player is Phil Mickelson. At the Ryder Cup matches he was at 3-0, didn't lose any of his 3 efforts.
Some players are gifted match players. So looking at Mark O'Meara a little earlier, and 5 wins out of 5 in the President's Cup.
You look to the likes of Gary Player and Seve Ballesteros, and of course Ernie Els. He's played 6 matches and won 6 in this tournament. Isn't it marvellous to watch? Such a wide array of shots there, playing a little bit off the back foot, just getting the right bounce on the first pitch. And I think that will be conceded for a 4. Of course, in absolutely superb condition this week, not a breath of wind about. And it really is keeping the scoring up a little bit with those pins tucked away.
Well, a shot that was reasonably straightforward until a few moments ago. And that nestled down a fraction, and because it's a delicate shot, you have to hit it hard enough to guarantee the strike.
Yeah, my first thought he might play it as a bunker type shot, but I think he's going to go with a very upright action and play a little bit more of a chip and run. Just stabbing down on it. Beautifully controlled as well. Well, that one's down there, I'm not certain that one's a gimme. Doesn't show very much on the screen, but there's a big slope on the back right portion of the green.
Yes, it's at this point you know who your friends are. A couple of feet and Mickelson dead straight. Vijay Singh, because he's going to have to hit this putt so delicately, will certainly have a little bit of swing on it. Massive galleries now watching the only match in progress. They've drifted back from the 16th when they were watching Montgomery and Woosnam, and drifted forward from the 13th when Mark O'Meara shook the hands of Serizawa.
And has been using the long putter for most of the season. And last week at Vegas, and this week here has gone to the conventional style. Takes a little bit of getting used to. Right in the heart of the hole.
All half the four. Singh remains one up.
Mickelson's conceded. Very good up and down, and Singh takes a one-hole lead to the 34th tee.
And here is a look at this 16th hole. Bunker there down the left-hand side. 245 to clear it. The fairway a good bit narrower than it was when the helicopters went over. It's usually a short iron to the green, all guarded down the right-hand side by 3 bunkers. And the pin today cut front rightish, 14 on and 3 from the right, so tucked into those bunkers. So ideally you want to drive slightly down the left side of the fairway to get the best angle to the flag.
One of the roads that winds its way through this Wentworth estate. Began all these years ago after the property developer designed St George's Hill, which isn't too far away from here. Walter George Talent responsible for building all the houses that have at least an acre of land, and well, the idea was in the stockbroker belt to let people live on the golf course so they wouldn't have to travel too far. Now, I started that down the right. Let's see if it's coming back with a touch of fade. Watching it a little anxiously, and of course the further you go to the right, the deeper the rough is, and with that flag on the right side today, it's very difficult to gain any access to it at all.
Being down in the match, Mickelson having to attack. I'm rather surprised that Vijay fancies the wood. I thought maybe he might play a 3 or 4 iron for position, but it's a 3 wood. The 2 drifting slightly down the right side. Singh currently 17th on the US money list with just over $750,000. No wins this year. Age 33. I feel this fella's definitely got a major in him somewhere.
I think many across the world would agree with that. Kenny's such a hard worker, and he's done so much for Asian golf because the youngsters there have seen what can be done. Humble beginnings out there and over to Europe to try and ply his trade here. Went to Africa first on the safari tour. Lovely golf swing to watch, everything beautifully connected on the way back. There's the left knee, sympathetic to the turn of the right side, and the club straight down the intended target. Into the leverage, down comes the left hand. The arms stay quite close to the body, and through to a high, stylish finish. It's a swing of power, and it also has a fair amount of elegance in it as well. I remember when he went over to Nigeria, to the Ikoyi Golf Club in Lagos, and played so well there, gave him a bit of confidence, came to Europe and struggled a little early on, but eventually became a winner here, and then took the final step across the Atlantic to the US PGA Tour, winning comfortably there, and could well have had half a dozen more wins out there. He's been in contention so often throughout the seasons he's played. Some 4 seasons he's been there now, and of course that's part of the learning process as well. You have to lose a few before you learn how to win them.
Yes, he had a chance this year at the PGA Championship at Valhalla. Did VJ He took a 6 at the last, and of course Mark Brooks went on to win that against Kenny Perry in the playoff.
You're talking of major winners, it surely can't be too long before Phil Mickelson. He puts himself around in these championships. He's got all the attributes required. He's a tough competitor, and perhaps the best club in his bag is his temperament.
Yes, he's got an all-round solid game. 4 times the winner this year on the US circuit, of course, US #1. Time for a moment's worth of humour there.
Bit of discussion going on here.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you mind coming right back on the right? Right way back. Seriously, would you mind coming right back?
Yeah, the ball, we believe, is up against that tree, and what a time to be a left-hander. Now he has a gap, and he's a very creative player, Mickelson. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he turns the 8-iron round and maybe aims it off the toe and plays it right-handed. We shall see. It is match play. He maybe wouldn't do that in medal play because it could be damaging, but if it does come off and you can wangle a 4 from there, it may just shake up his opponent Vijay Singh. Asking to get the galleries back. There is a ditch just beyond them which is out of bounds, and then once again into the gardens. That's a look from behind the green. Way left of your screen is where Mickelson is, and with all the galleries now watching one match, it could take a little time for them to disperse here.
Yes, and then a dangerous spot if he's going to try and play a right-handed shot. Of course, he's right-handed at everything except golf, so maybe he's practiced a little bit this way around there, turn the club round. So if I was them, I'd stand well clear.
Well, we've got everything right up to here, but is it an 8-iron? Good looking golf swing too. One or two players in the world that are quite brilliant at this. Ballesteros and Sandy Lyle, I think the best I've seen.
Sandy is absolutely amazing. He can do it almost as well left-handed as right. Of course, Mac O'Grady is another one who's a very fine golfer both ways round. He can really smack a ball with the driver left and right.
Yes, O'Grady now teaching the aforementioned Sandy Lyle. But this is very dangerous, and dangerous for the spectators as well, because should it clatter off one of these trees, it could well ricochet off into them. Well, you heard the clatter of the ball against the oak trees down the right-hand side, but they seem to like it that end, and well, Singh's not in the perfect position either. He's over on the right side in the rough, so all is not lost.
VJ's golfing idol when he took the game up was Tom Weiskopf. I think you're going to choose a player to copy one swing. It's always best to copy one with a similar stature.
Now one would think 25 feet left, pin high, would be quite sufficient. And he certainly shied over to that side, and a good shot from Singh. Very aware of the position. couple of putts from there and he knows he won't lose the hole.
Well, the European Tour course conditioning has improved vastly over the last 6 or 7 years. The US Tour has always been known for such wonderfully presented golf courses, but year on year they're gradually improving over here. This week you could no way criticise it at all. The greens are absolutely beautiful.
Yes, and you've played all over the world in places like New Zealand and the Philippines, and in the States, of course, when you won the Southern Open in '87. And I think the tour, to be fair, 10 years ago was a little behind these countries. Of course, they do have the weather in their favour, but even down in Australia and New Zealand, where many thought there wasn't that many great golf courses, there are some spectacular courses down there, and their level of presenting a golf course has been high for many years.
Yes, and that's why the competition is getting tighter and tighter throughout the world. Very little between the European side, and we also saw the President's Cup, which this man played in. That was a very, very tight battle as well. So it's marvellous to see all the golfers playing so well wherever they're playing. Vijay Singh was out in that last match against Fred Couples and had a chance to keep it all going, but of course Freddie holed it right across that 17th green to take victory for the Americans.
Well, he has to hold this across the 16th green at Wentworth to go to the 17th Dormy 2-up. I'm not absolutely sure that's what he had in the back of his mind. It's amazing in match play how difficult putts can become. You usually have the touch from around 25 and 30 feet and you can roll the ball up to the whole side, but just when you need to lag one, there's always an element of doubt that you may leave it short, and I think in turn that makes you give it a little extra at impact, and I think that's what happened to Singh there. So a chance for Mickelson.
It's really put a whole new complexion on this match. Never very easy to read your putts when you're putting directly into the sun. This man used to, of course, lives in Scottsdale, Arizona, where it rains very little. Seems to thrive on the pressure.
It's got the speed. Oh, thought it had the line too. All caused by the wild tee shot, and a chance for Vijay Singh now to give himself a little bit of a cushion going into these last two holes.
Well done, despite it bobbling a little bit. So he's Dormy 2-up with 2 to play. He'll wander down the hill. It's about a 60-yard walk to the 17th tee. And here is a look at the hole. 571 yards. A par 5, reachable in 2 with 2 very big hits, no breeze at all about today. And you've got to drive right to the corner of the dogleg. 275 yards to there, and it's a hard drawn 3 with out of bounds all the way down the left hand side. They've narrowed this fairway up, so you've got to decide on your second shot. Are you going for it in 2, or you lay up as Mark O'Meara did earlier today? Because where the pin is cut today, just 6 on and 4 from the left hand side, a very difficult chip if you get tangled up in the left hand rough. One of the trickiest greens on the course, looks absolutely dead flat. There's 1 or 2 subtle breaks and borrows that caught people out over the years.
with the honour back on the tee will be Vijay Singh. And don't be too surprised if you see this go down the right side.
Aiming left, a power fade, and he's absolutely nutted this one right down the middle of the fairway. I'm seeing him run into the little trees through the fairway there. There's a great big sweet chestnut that can get in your way.
Totally different shaped hole for Mickelson, and he'll want to start it on the line Singh finished on and then try and cut it back into the slope to straighten it out. Going over to the left-hand side of the tee to start it on the wide part of the fairway. And Mickelson spinning that one back, and it's a good, long, healthy hit. Not much to choose between them there, but I would think the green in range. Well, the question of whether they can thread it through that extremely narrow gap.
Mickelson, a deceptively long hitter of the ball. He's in the top 10 of the US statistics, averaging 280 yards. It's this long, sort of dipping flight, and the ball runs a long way. Well, he finished this morning 4-3, and I think he's going to have to do it this afternoon if he's going to remain in this competition.
Yes, that might just get him out of jail. A lot depends on how things bowls lying off the 17th tee. But we've been watching some of the history pieces on this tournament there back to the 60s, and Player and Palmer and Nicholas Trevino, who dominated in that time, and you're looking now to the Phil Mickelsons, the Justin Leonard stateside to carry the American flag. We've already mentioned the youngsters on the European tour, Robert Allenby when he's fit again from down under there. So the future of the game in all four corners of the world looking fairly healthy.
Yes, and it's great to see. We always felt that, certainly on the European tour, when the likes of Seve and Bernard Langer and Sandy Lau were going to disappear, that we might have anyone to replace him, but we certainly have. And everyone should keep their eyes on this Thomas Bjorn, a fine player, and Porrick Harrington are two very steady, and Raymond Russell, so three very good young promising Europeans. Interestingly, Vijay Singh has won 3 times on the US tour. Every time in a playoff, and amazingly at Phoenix, I don't know whether you knew this, he putted with his eyes shut all week, and he won the tournament.
Well, we could be coming to an early finish this afternoon. We can nip out and try that. Tried just about everything else. You have to do what you're comfortable with, and Singh's obviously had problems with the putter over the last 3 or 4 seasons. That's why he went to the long putter. He looked very comfortable holding that putt at the last.
Yes, he was using a sort of method that you'd say was a touch of the Andy North, very straight arms, and trying to get the putter shaft and the putter head all working as one unit. And he's obviously found a way and found a little bit of confidence. And in golf, it's all about confidence.
2 Open wins, of course, stateside for Andy North. Double major winner, the last time being in 1986. And Andy North now working with American television and doing very well too. The scoreboard that shows you that 3 of the 4 matches are finished. Mickelson looking a little serious down there. It was a difficult week for him last week in many ways. He struggled in the early stages of the Alfred Dunhill Cup. He lost to Jarmo Sandelin. And when they narrowly defeated Sweden, so maybe a little fatigue setting in there.
Yes, and twice round St Andrews on the final day is always hard work. A breezy course. It was a reasonably nice day. It's still a long walk, and St Andrews, like a lot of golf courses, but particularly St Andrews, takes a lot of concentration to get round.
Singh's just fallen off this 17th fairway. sitting well enough to get a 3-wood at it. See, the club was still along the ground there, a good 12 inches after the ball was struck, but I have a feeling that that could well be a visit to the gardens. The gallery's turning round and they're just about on the border. Strange decision.
A cardinal there, I can't believe he's done that. That's certainly in someone's flower bed over there. He had this match all sewn up, now he's really opened the door for Mickelson.
Well, this time perhaps a mistake the other way, that down the right centre. Well, it's finding its way onto the green, and well, if you're playing confidently, you're not thinking of hitting poor shots. And he's given himself a putt for a 5. Now that might just change the thoughts of Mickelson. I'm sure after the second shot going out of bounds, Mickelson was thinking a 5-iron and a wedge will be quite sufficient. But Singh with an outside chance there of a part, and the decision is made for Phil.
Well, unlike a right-hander, for a left-hander the ball above his feet, which is ideal. He can aim it down the left-hand side and try and draw the ball back. Uses the Nicklaus lining up method, looks at a point just in front of the ball. And uses that to line up on.
Gorgeous shot, started it on the flag, cutting back towards the left-hand side of the green, and beautiful shot from Mickelson. And important that he should have done that, because now if he can get down in 2, whatever Singh does, he'll go to the 18th, 1 down and 1 to play. Well, we said at the top of the programme the 17th at St Andrews was difficult last week, and you picked this hole out as being the pivotal hole in the match play, and in these very early stages you've been proved right.
Yes, it caught Woosnam out this morning, and PJ this afternoon is, I wouldn't say it was a great hole, but it's very, very difficult. It's just the slope of the fairway means you're always having to tangle with it out of bounds down the left-hand side. Brings the gardens into play, and we've seen numerous people over the years paying a visit over there. If you just play it as a steady par 5, a 3-wood off the tee, then a 4 or a 3-iron up the middle and a wedge, it's not that hard of a hole. But as soon as you're trying to get it in 2 and reach it and make an eagle putt, then it becomes a little bit more difficult.
Clocks change in a few days' time over here in Great Britain, and that signals the end of British summertime, so it will be getting dark in a week or so around this time. But you wouldn't think so today, just one light fluffy cloud up there. Temperatures up in the mid-60s, and the forecast for tomorrow, a little bit of rain in the early stages and then followed by sun in the afternoon. Now let's see if we can find out why this went to the left. I got the feeling he got stuck on his right foot on the way through, everything looking perfectly okay there. Weight moves on to the right side, and certainly couldn't be accused of not reaching the top of his backswing. The left shoulder looking at the ball there, but if anything the club pointing to the left. Now here you see how slow he is to come off his right side. Club a long way through before the right foot comes up, the right hand wrapping over, and well, the result of that is straightforward pull. Galleries allowed back onto the middle of the fairway, and confirmation that the ball of PJ Singh is in actual fact in that adjacent garden.
I think first to play was probably just Phil Mickelson, which he'll be pleased about. And if you can chip this one dead, then they move on to the 18th. Mickelson just having a look at the area of the green where he wants the ball to land. So important that it reacts as he anticipates. Out with his most lofted club, he's going to carry it halfway and then let it release the rest. kick to the right as it landed on the green, but the right pace. Very little break on this putt overall. And he has this for a par 5.
Well, I think that will be that. They pick up and move to the 18th tee, and after that mistake with the second shot from Vijay Singh at 17, he's just 1 up and 1 to play. Mickelson can win that final hole. They'll be out back down the first fairway for the 3rd time today. Steve Elkington in total control of the morning match. Steve Stricker hit him with a barrage of birdies this afternoon, and Stricker threw 3 and 2, and he faces the defending champion Ernie Els tomorrow. Colin Montgomery, winner 3 and 2 over Ian Woosnam, and Montgomery through to face the first of the major winners, Mark Brooks. Phil Mickelson or Vijay Singh will play Steve Jones, the US Open champion, and Tom Lehman, who was successful at Royal Lytham, will take on Mark O'Meara. So that's the situation in this first round of the Toyota World Match Play, coming to you live from the Wentworth Club, just a little west of the city of London. Well, we've taken a look at some of the rich history of this championship. We've managed to progress into the mid-70s, and we can go back and join it now.
'76, he reaches the final again. His opponent trying to prevent an unprecedented hat-trick is Australian David Graham, winner of an enthralling semi-final against Ray Floyd. And with Ewen 2 up with 3 to play, that record looks a safe bet. But over the last few holes, Graham plays like a man possessed. The 15th. Now, the 17th. Then at 18, still 1 down and in a bunker, he refuses to give up. Hardly surprisingly, Hale Irwin falters under this barrage. It went to the 38th, the 2nd extra hole, but by now, no one expected him to miss. A memorable triumph and Australia's first match play champion.
David Graham, the champion back in 1976. Lovely final that was, closely contested, and it went all the way there to the 38th. I just wonder if the first round's going to go that far as Phil Mickelson moves to the 18th, 1 down against Vijay Singh. £6 million spent on that clubhouse in the last 3 years and restored to its former glory. Used to be the Wentworth Mansion. And all the acreage, of course, now is the golf course. Well, David Graham successful in 1976, and once again it was the turn of a man down under in 1977.
Par 3 14th, 191 yards uphill. Ray Floyd on the tee. Anxious faces follow the flight of the ball. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, no need to look too far. Tip of the cap, good shot from Floyd. They don't come much better than that. Now Graham Marsh. That looks good too, dead on line. Can he get inside Floyd? Oh, well, it looked nip and tuck. Two beautiful shots. Well, the story of this match so far has been very close indeed, but every time Floyd has played a king, Marsh has played an ace. Great stuff. Now, Floyd's got it all to do. 3 down, he must hold this. Only about 4 yards. This for a birdie too. No, he didn't give it enough speed. Oh, you can almost feel the tension in the air. Now Marsh, who's putted and played quite beautifully throughout this match, has this putt to go 4 up and 4 to play. Slowly back, taps it, and right into the centre. Marsh wins that with a birdie too, and by now is feeling very confident indeed.
And that confidence is justified when at the next hole Floyd concedes and Graham Marsh is the winner. The result is 5 and 3. Marsh's reputation is confirmed, and memories of his defeat in the '73 final are banished.
Graham Marsh successful there back in 1977, another victory for Australia. But in the third match here, is it going to be a Fijian or is it going to be an American that progresses through to the second round? Stricker already through, Montgomery through by 3 and 2, and O'Meara an easy day of it against Nobuo Sarazawa. Just looking at these matches tomorrow, can Ernie Els, who's been in pretty good form, played splendidly last week at St Andrews, against Steve Stricker, should be an interesting confrontation.
Yes, you would never think Ernie Els was a really tough match player, but has proved to be so. 6 out of 6 in his efforts so far here at the Toyota World Match Play Championship. He is a terrific golfer. And he's got the ideal game here for Wentworth. He can get up on all the par 5s in 2. That's going to be a really interesting match.
We already know that Colin Montgomery is going to face Mark Brooks, and well, Mark Brooks hasn't got a whole lot of history here in the match play, but a tough competitor.
Yeah, very gutsy. Under pressure, he's done extremely well. Anyone who can win a major championship has got a good game. Very steady, straight hitter of the golf ball and has putted beautifully all season. And he is an outstanding all-round player. Currently ranked number 3 on the US money list, won $1.37 million, and of course 3 tournament victories. Well, hopefully Houston, of course that PGA Championship.
We skipped the third match there because we still need a result, but Mark O'Meara will play Tom Lehman.
Yes, it'd be very, very difficult to pick that match. It's going to be extremely tight.
Just as this match is, 18th tee and Mickelson. Interesting, Mickelson taking the 3 wood off the 18th tee, maybe to take the bunkers out of play. And it's just worked. Now that's a very fortunate break. There's only a 4-yard gap between these 2 bunkers, and Mickelson has found the middle of that.
This hole sets up for Vijay Singh. You can see him aiming down the left. No powerful fade required. Exquisite rhythm. And that is long and straight. That's position A1, just holding on to the edge of the fairway.
That's an enormous drive from Vijay Singh, nothing much more than a 5, maybe even a low 6 iron for his second. But for Mickelson, for the second time at this 18th this afternoon, it's a 3 wood.
Just catches the bunker another couple of yards further, and that could have finished very, very close. And it's got a steep face in that bunker as well.
Trying to cut in a little 4 iron, Singh. Difficult to do off the downslope. And he's dragged it, and once again he's given a little glimmer of hope to Phil Mickelson. 5 up after 7 holes this morning and seemingly cruising. But Mickelson with a very awkward shot. That pin 32 on at the 18th, and Mickelson level with the front of the green, maybe a couple of yards on, so a shot of around 30 yards. And well, you don't need me to tell you that's the most difficult shot in the game to control. That's the hospitality units. IMG to the left of the 18th, Toyota behind. All very spectacular and beautifully organised.
It's certainly a tournament everyone is very keen to get into. It's a great honour. Steve Stricker said this morning he's very nervous on the first tee, so obviously a big experience for him.
Well, he certainly didn't finish the day nervous. Tremendous afternoon performance from Stricker. Won the third hole, Stricker, with a 4 to a 5. Then managed a 2 at the 5th. And then disappointment from Elkington at the 8th and 9th. That's really where he lost it, a 5 and a 6 there at the 2 par 4s. And Stricker finishing off in fine style with a birdie at 12 and another one at the 14th. So some good golf played there from the American.
This man's played some great golf, particularly in the majors. He was 5th at the US Open. He's just disappeared. Vijay Singh. And Mickelson had a good performance at the US Masters. He finished 3rd there to go with his 4 wins.
It's rather like World Cup football now. There's no such thing as an easy match, and we saw that up at St Andrews last week when India defeated Scotland. And a lot of it is to do with the tours that are starting up there in the east. The Omega Asian PGA Tour, which has been running now 2 years and has produced stars already like Jeev Milkha Singh from India, Gaurav Gai, and a few others from places like Korea and formerly Formosa, all these eastern countries. And what it's done is it's developed the game in these countries. 1 or 2 golf courses now beginning to be built out there. The youngsters are keen to start, and we'll maybe see more of the rewards of that in the next 10 years or so. But in the near future, we're looking for a conclusion to the 3rd match. Mickelson and Singh. And the ball of Mickelson not lying too badly in the bunker. And in some ways, Ken, good that it's up against the face, because he has to build the elevation in, and he'll be able to hit that shot pretty hard from there.
Yes, and he's almost committed to hit the high lob shot, which will probably stop very quickly. It's that 25-30 yard bunker shot. You've got to be pretty precise with the contact, but if you get it right, the ball stops very, very quickly. Easy to leave short though off the upslope.
Oh, I don't believe it. What a shot from Mickelson. And no wonder he holds his head. Well, we've seen some of the great shots when we look back at the history pieces of this championship, and that is up there among the best of them. Brilliant shot from Mickelson. You heard the contact. He got so much of the ball. And now we may have a lengthy delay because that hole is going to have to be repaired. A shot of stunning brilliance.
And he just can't believe how it stayed out the hole. It's one of those ones that 8 times out of 10 gets gobbled up and you never see it again. Very interesting to see that one again.
Well, the referee having a look at the hole, Ian Burns, the referee in match 3. And Vijay Singh, I think, a little concerned and maybe anxious to go ahead and not break the rhythm here.
A little bit of repair work going on the hole. Vijay Singh's got a reasonable lie, just a little bit of a tuft behind him. Bank to go up, but he is playing up the hill. And he chipped quite beautifully at the 15th, and it's not a dissimilar shot. But he needs to get down in No more than 2.
Played it very nicely. But it's just gone outside the ball of Mickelson. You can see the mark that ball made on the edge of the hole. And maybe now a little more repair work will be needed at that 18th. A lot more crucial, of course. This is what happened. Straight in the middle of the hole. And if you saw that in slow motion, you would see it disappear. And we thought, well, that would be that. And somehow it popped out. And Mickelson waiting to see what his fate's going to be here. But quite simply, Singh has a putt on the 36th green to progress to the second round.
A little bit downhill. And not the easiest of putts. It's a real ticklish one. Well, I wonder if he's sucking or blowing.
Well, he was up to the task, but Mickelson gave us something to speak about there. An astonishing third shot, 2 excellent fours at the 18th, and after a long, tough day that started very much in the favour of the Fijian, it ends with him with a very narrow victory, a one-hole victor over America's Phil Mickelson. A great match to watch, and what a pity we had to have a loser. Well, again, we can have a look at that shot, Ken, and it was so beautifully executed.
Absolutely precise contact on the ball. He was thinking about holding it. Beautifully struck. Climbing way in the air. Now he knows he struck it to perfection. It was amazing. He did a loop round the hole before it came out.
Yes, it visited all 4 corners, but sadly not enough to save Phil Mickelson. Vijay Singh through by 1 hole in the 3rd match, and he'll go through to face the US Open champion Steve Jones. Remember, he won that at Oakland Hills back in June. Narrow margin of 1 shot from Davis Love III. In the top match of the day, the match that went out first, Steve Elkington looked like he was going to take out Steve Stricker until the American slipped up a gear in the afternoon. 3-2 victory there for Stricker, and he's off to face the defending champion Ernie Els, and they'll tee off at 8:15 tomorrow morning. We can have a look at the draw just to refresh our memories. Elkington against Els in the first match. Cullen Montgomery won by 4-2. That's been changed. Of course, Woosnam conceded the 16th. Montgomery through to face Mark Brooks. And in the 3rd match, Vijay Singh, after that stunning 4 at the last from both players, Singh through to face Steve Jones. In the last match, the Open champion Tom Lehman comes into the picture, and he'll take on fellow American Mark O'Meara. 7-5 victor today over Nobio Serizawa. Well, you just take a look at that, Ken. What do you think will happen tomorrow?
Well, I think you've just got to fancy Ernie Els over Steve Stricker, but there's not much between them. Stricker's a very, very confident player, played superbly well at the recent St Andrews tournament. Montgomery and Brooks, that's a tight battle, but I think you've got to fancy Brooks. Singh versus Jones, that's very tight. And O'Meara versus Tommy Lehman, that's going to be very interesting to see how they perform.
You don't give too much away, do you? But one thing for sure is we'll be here to take you through the second round of the Toyota World Match Play. I hope you've enjoyed our coverage of this, the first day. Have a good evening wherever you are in the world, and we'll look forward to your company tomorrow. Till then, bye-bye.